Anybody who met Gary was impressed by the factor that I mentioned earlier, the realization that here's a guy who is a gamer and a really cool guy and a very generous man who would give somebody publishing credit just to help them out, who would give his money away to help the poor, literally. You read about folks like this. I'm not saying he was a saint. He enjoyed a dirty joke as well as I did. We both had a horrible penchant for puns and would just make everybody else groan while we were slinging them. He didn't have a good first marriage. The rise of D&D and the money and the demands on his time, etc., helped tear that marriage apart, leaving a bunch of great kids, who are all friends of mine. But a lot of facets of Gary boiled down to, for those who knew him, that he was a good man, that he was not this gaming god or was not an intellectual super genius or something. His creativity was notable. I'm fairly creative myself, so we got along he treated me as an equal in that respect, despite his incredible creations. Gary's legacy, I think, rests in, if you look at the last months of his life, he chose to answer every email he got, knowing that he was ill and had limited time. He did, right to the very end, he put the priority on the needs and desires of others ahead of his own, with the full support of his wife, Gail. And, well, yeah, they need you, they want you. Don't worry about me, I'm always here for you, you know, the ideal wife and perfect hostess so many times with Gail. In the broader sense, though, as I mentioned earlier, again, I strongly feel that I can trace the family games of the 50s and before that into the culture that produced the Wargamers, and then this creation of Chainmail, which produced Dungeons and Dragons, which then inspired so many others. The early movies, Star Wars, came out inspired in part by, oh yeah, this sort of action-adventure stuff. And that gave rise to lots of science fiction games, piggybacking off of D&D's popularity. Personal and home computers then started appearing. We moved from the TRS-80 to the first Apples, and all of this happened. And what do you do first in entertainment on that? Well, there's this D&D stuff is big, so let's do some fantasy games. And the science fiction games, there it comes off of D&D to a game called Traveller, science fiction role-playing. And then that other games in that genre being translated and providing ideas for computer games, and more decisions on the part of studio heads to do more science fiction based and more fantasy based games as a result of that popularity and this phenomenon, these phenomena spawning directly from Dungeons and Dragons to break through that, to make this a family type pastime for almost as big as, in some respects, as Monopoly or other great classic family games. You can trace back all of this to Gary's decision to stop selling insurance, to not be a shoe repairman on the side, to put all his time into starting a company to publish, okay, sorry Gare, but war game rules that weren't going to sell, but also this break thing that started as just the fantasy game and became the breakthrough game of the 70s and in fact the latter half of the 20th century. My friend Gary changed the world. This will be remembered in the long run. My friend Gary changed the world. This will be remembered